Good afternoon. We have significant developments to report. Russia has declared a temporary truce in Ukraine, effective until Monday. This ceasefire began at 6 p.m. local time. While this may be perceived as an overture towards peace, many analysts interpret it as a strategic maneuver by the Kremlin. The announcement of the ceasefire follows a final warning from former President Trump, raising concerns that it may serve as a tactic to mislead the international community while continuing hostilities against Ukrainian civilians. The specifics are as follows. The Kremlin has indicated that all military actions will halt from the evening of April 19th until April 21st, expecting Ukraine to mirror its example, suggesting that Ukraine's actions during this period will reflect its commitment to peace. President Vladimir Putin has instructed Russian forces to remain vigilant against any potential violations of the ceasefire by Ukraine, providing detailed directives to commanders in operational zones. On the eve of Easter, President Putin extended greetings specifically to Christian Orthodox military personnel, expressing his desire for peace and calling for a suspension of military operations from 6 p.m. on Sunday until midnight on Monday, based on humanitarian grounds. However, he also cautioned Russian troops to be alert for provocations from Ukraine. Despite Putin's call for mutual restraint, it is important to note that Ukraine had previously agreed to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire over a month ago, while Russia continued its aggressive actions. Some observers argue that Russia's current declaration is more about strategic necessity than genuine religious observance. Notably, on Palm Sunday, Russia targeted a Ukrainian church during services, contradicting the image of Putin as a devout leader making concessions for Easter. In recent days, Russian officials expressed skepticism regarding the viability of halting hostilities, with statements indicating that a ceasefire would be counterproductive to their military objectives. This perspective shifted following pressure from the Trump administration's final cautionary remarks. Russian representatives have historically doubted the feasibility of a ceasefire due to alleged non-compliance by Ukraine in previous limited agreements focused on energy infrastructure. However, this viewpoint appears to have evolved under external influence amid ongoing negotiations. Throughout these discussions, Ukraine reaffirmed its commitment to an unconditional ceasefire over a month ago. However, Russian leaders have shown little interest in engaging with such terms. This raises critical questions about our continued diplomatic efforts with representatives like Steve Witkoff when Russia publicly maintains its stance. It seems that the Trump administration has been slow in recognizing this reality. A more thorough analysis could have accelerated their understanding, evidenced by Secretary of State Marco Rubio's remarks just before Russia agreed to a ceasefire, stating that the conflict in Ukraine is distressing but not our war. He emphasized U.S. support for Ukraine over 3 years and acknowledged our limited role in seeking resolution. Over the past 87 days, efforts have been made at high levels of governance toward brokering peace. However, we now face a crucial juncture requiring determination about whether resolution is attainable. Consequently, we are engaging both parties urgently, within days rather than weeks, to assess if an end can be achieved. Should prospects for peaceful resolution emerge, we stand ready to facilitate an equitable settlement. Conversely, if divisions prove insurmountable, the President may declare enough is enough. We remain prepared to assist whenever viable options arise, but will not engage in protracted negotiations without purpose. The immediate imperative is determining whether resolution can be achieved shortly. Should it not be feasible, priorities must shift given numerous pressing global issues demanding attention alongside ongoing peace efforts. This assertive approach represents one of the most robust stances taken by the Trump administration since initiating this process. While I believe stronger criticism towards Russia and Putin's prolongation of conflict was warranted earlier on, there is finally evidence of increased firmness within policy discussions regarding these matters. Terry Rivio emphasized that swift decisions must be made concerning potential agreements between Russia and Ukraine. Otherwise, progress must occur promptly due to alarming realities surrounding lives lost. Approximately 2,500 soldiers perish weekly across both nations, with no casualties reported among U.S. forces or allies involved directly in combat operations, hereafter noted as tragic losses amidst advanced warfare tactics employed throughout this conflict landscape. necessitating urgent action against further devastation inflicted upon civilian populations caught within crossfires, resulting from prolonged hostilities waged without regard for human life itself. Should any party obstruct these efforts moving forward, they shall face severe scrutiny, whilst alternative strategies will inevitably come into play, emphasizing urgency surrounding resolutions sought amidst senseless loss incurred thus far throughout ongoing engagements witnessed firsthand across various fronts, where negotiations continue, despite apparent challenges faced daily, along lines drawn between opposing factions entrenched within long-standing disputes, rooted deeply within historical grievances, yet unresolved even today, highlighting needful dialogue aimed towards reconciliation rather than escalation. Further complicating already tenuous situations unfolding presently before us, all alike, regardless position held therein, ultimately leading us back again toward fundamental question posed earlier regarding likelihood achieving lasting peace through collaborative means rather than unilateral impositions, sought unilaterally instead, fostering greater understanding amongst stakeholders involved hereafter deemed necessary if true progress hoped realized. Moving forward, henceforth into future endeavors undertaken collectively together. United under common goals, shared mutually beneficial outcomes, desired ultimately serving best interests. Everyone concerned alike, irrespective differences held previously, aside momentarily set forth toward achieving greater harmony overall, restoring balance once lost long ago, now desperately needed, once more across board everywhere, seen, felt, heard, loud, clear, unmistakably, resonating deeply throughout entire region, affected profoundly, impacted lives, changed forevermore, because choices made today shape tomorrow ahead, awaiting patiently, just beyond horizon, beckoning forth brighter days ahead, filled hope, promise, renewal, restoration, healing required desperately now more than ever before.